Here we have an early Victor Model 3. This machine is early enough that it still has the M designation on the data plate. These Victor 3s started out as a rear mount version of a Victor Monarch. And this is a machine that's in the process of being put back in use. This is basically as I got it. It's missing the upper capital and the shaft of a corner column on this corner. And the shaft of the column on this corner. But hopefully I'll be able to find some replacements from somebody that's got a donor case, or I think there's even a fellow that makes them. And for the purpose of making this video, this is the crank off my Victor 2. It's the same style of crank with the slotted end. And we'll take a look at the motor. This machine has an interesting early style motor on it. I can lift the turntable off here. A little tricky to do one-handed. You can see the plate that holds the motor to the lid of the cabinet. Turn the machine around here. There's a button to press in. And we can tip the machine back and stay there. And here we go. This is what's known as the bevel gear motor. You can see it's fairly simple and even somewhat crude compared to a lot of the other motors. And I didn't make the marks on the spring barrels. The fellow I got this from had it apart and cleaned the motor and did the marks on the spring barrels. I generally refrain from doing things such as that. It's just sort of a carryover from the clock repair practice of you don't do stuff like that. But it's a pretty smooth running motor. I've heard a lot of stories about these motors being noisy and not running well. I'll stop it here so you can see the governor weights and springs. Uses an interesting ratchet arrangement with two pawls on a single ratchet. It's a bit on the worn side too. In this position, the ratchet doesn't work very effectively sometimes. You can tell that there's some teeth that are shorter than others, but with the motor down in the playing position, it makes a noticeable ratcheting action, and it works quite well. If you look at the governor here, the brake has the stirrup style governor pad set up. And we look at the governor pads here. The governor disc, you'll see it's grooved instead of being smooth. Something I've noticed on this machine is the way the this is just sort of coincidental, but the way the gear moves and the balls happen there. You view that gear through the governor, you get a strobing effect going on, which you don't get viewing it outside of the gears. there's a strobing effect going on there because of the frame rate of the camera. But you see it's a different strobe there because we're viewing it through the governor balls. Just something kind of interesting. The ratios worked out like that. This is a 2-spring motor. The frame is sort of a multi-casting frame. There's the main casting. There's a casting for the governor that holds both governor bearings. There's a bridge casting here which holds the great wheel arbor, the second wheel arbor, and also the bottom pivot of the turntable. And then it's not very visible, but there's another casting right here that carries the back pivot of the second wheel and the back pivot of the spring barrels. And then this bearing has a adjusting screw and lock nut for adjusting the mesh of the bevel wheel with the bevel pinion. And so this forms the thrust bearing. So very interesting motor, early style motor. It's neat to see one running. Much different than the motors used in the later Victors. A lot of individual castings and sub-assemblies. See, there's even an individual casting here for this stanchion for the winding arbor. So, a very interesting motor indeed. So, I thought you all would like to see this. Thank you for watching.